to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional land. Oh, sorry. Nicole, are we?
Yeah, go. You're good to go.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I forgot you didn't leave to go turn it on. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Let me start again. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Marla Billinghurst. I will be chairing the meeting this morning. With me on the panel are Ms. Diane Knight and Mr. Ian Mann. Representing the City of Winnipeg Assessment Department is Mr. Nuwan Thudagala Munasinga and Mr. Barakas. And our administrative personnel this morning is Ms. Nicole Carnegie. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted to the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you may leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish, and once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the Board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 1 through 3 on our docket today. Ms. Carnegie, please affirm the assessor's and the applicant's testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Thudagala Munasinga, please state your full name.
Thudagala Munasinga.
You affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Barakas, please state your full name.
Matthew Barakas.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, please state your full name.
Ayrton Neufeld.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The first item on the docket this morning is 371 Stan Bailey Drive. I understand that there is a recommendation to reduce the assessment. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Neufeld, are you accepting the recommendation?
We are not, no.
All right. Then, Mr. Assessor, please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. File number 23441, roll number 03093014520, address 371 Sten Bailey Drive, roll year 2023, reference date April 1st, 2021, assess value 1,017,000, classification residential 2, liability taxable. Property type P-2, vacant residential 2, zoning RMFM res multifamily. Land area 41,890. I think Madam Chair mentioned our recommendation. Move to the land comparables. My first comparable is 186 Appleford Gate, NCA 684 Bridgewater Trail. Lot size 290,902. Sold on February 2020. Sale price per square footage $19.58. The second comparable is 165 Sage Creek Boulevard, NCA 553 Sage Creek. The lot size 119,775. Sold on January 2021. Sale price per square footage $17.23. The third comparable 1085 Court Avenue, the NCA 326 Leela North, lot size 157,252, sold on November 2020. Sales price per square footage $19.08. My fourth comparable 1590 Wards Avenue, NCA 557 Fairpoint, lot size 231,051. Sold on October 2019. Sale price per square footage $18.28. Fifth comparable old Commonwealth Path, NCA 319 Insta Grants, lot size 58,605. Sales sold on October 2019. The square foot sales price per square footage is $56.31. The sixth comparable 780 Riverstone Avenue West, NCA 433 Regent, lot size 42,028. Sold on 2019 July. Sale price per square footage $19.03. My last comparable 87 La France Lane, NCA 533 Sage Creek. This lot size 29,416. Sold on 2019 May. Sales price per square footage 2063. I have to mention here this is the best comparable for the subject property. Page 3, municipal assessment at excerpt. Page 4, you can see the picture of the subject property. Page 5, comparable one, 186 Upper Fort Gate, and also comparable to there, 165 Sage Creek Boulevard. You can see the aerial picture of those comparables. Comparable 3, 1085 Court Avenue. Comparable 4, 1590 Wards Avenue. Comparable 5, All Commonwealth Path. And comparable, this is in a page 7, sorry. Comparable 6, it's not 86, the comparable 6, 780 Western Avenue. And in page, this is the comparable we mostly wait on. This was developed into the condo townhouses. So this, as I mentioned before, this is sold for $20.63 on May 3rd, 2019. I think this is the end of my discussion. Thanks. Thanks, Malin.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Mr. Neufeld, do you have any questions
I
for the
do.
assessors?
Yeah. You had mentioned that there was one that was the best comparable. I missed that. Which one? Which property were you referring to?
It's 87 La France Lane.
And are you?
The last comparable in my list.
Are you aware that that was subdivided into 10 parcels and sold individually?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Are you aware that that was subdivided into 10 parcels and sold out individually?
Yeah, following the sale, when it was purchased, it was all one lot, just shy of 30,000 square feet. And then they subdivided it and built townhouses on top of it.
Okay. Your comparable at Old Commonwealth Path. You've got it listed at I think 1.34 acres. Did you look into that, or is that just what's showing in the assessment data?
Actually, we are trying to give more comparable to show you, show the board how the developer try to get the land. So that's the purpose of giving this all comparables.
For the lot size, it's just what we had in our system.
Yeah. Okay. Because it is actually that property sold was 164,000 square feet for $16.99 per square foot. It was a 4-roll parcel. When an investor is looking at buying land, would you think that they would be looking at the price per square foot, or would they be more concerned with the yield that they could get on the property?
In terms of what they would be, their idea is to buy the land and build something that's going to make them money after. They would consider both. They would look at the market value of the property in comparison to what similarly sized and shaped properties with the same zoning, which is important because the zoning constricts the buildability of their future investment. That's why we're putting our weight on comparable number 7, because it is smaller. And when you look at the physical of the subject property, the way it's kind of longer and skinnier, it's really only conducive to townhouse development itself. So all the other comparables that are RMFM, they're larger and they had larger apartments, more traditional apartments, multiple stories, units down a hallway. That's not something that is possible on the subject, but on 7 La France, the 30,000 square foot property, zone RMFM, was purchased, and then they built 2-story townhouses on top of it, basically from border to border as well. So that's why it's the most similar. The subject property, in terms of looking at the investment, return on what they're going to build on it, 7 La France is by far the best indication out of our comparable list.
Did 87 La France have to apply to have those roles subdivided and the title subdivided? And was that done prior to the sale?
It wasn't divided prior to the sale. No, it's sold as 30,000 square feet. I'm not sure in terms of
was the application granted or made, but to the council, I guess I meant.
Yeah, that I don't know.
Does the subject property, is it subdividable? Is the title subdividable? And have they applied, or are they capable of applying for that?
We don't have that information, so I can't say yes or no to that.
Okay. No, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Knight, do you have any questions?
I do not, thank you.
Mr. Mann?
Just with respect to your comparable number 7, comparable number 7, La France Lane, you indicated that was the best comparable because of the construction of townhouses. What is it about this property that lends it to townhouses construction? Is that based on the plan that was approved in 2017, or is that some other consideration that's taken effect?
Yeah, like when you look at, if you go to page 4 of our brief, we've got the aerial of the property. There's just the physical of it. It's longer, it's skinnier, it's not that wide. So just with zoning bylaws, we're looking at a situation whereby and they do have open permits to construct townhouses on this right now as well. So it's not like they can stick like a big apartment and a bunch of units in there. It's kind of like a restricted buildability. So that's why we're putting our weight on La France, where they did do that. If you go to the last page, where it's actually 25% smaller, and it's a similar kind of rectangular dimensional to it, and that's what they did there. And before it was split up and subdivided, that RMFM zone property was purchased at $20.63. So we made the rec to 20. We think 24 is too high. And, that's where we're putting our weight.
Thank you. I don't have anything further.
I have no questions either. So, Mr. Neufeld, please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you. So yeah, the property itself was at one point a much larger parcel. If you can see on my page 1, the property immediately west and north of it were the original parcel. This property was essentially a remnant. They got to maximize the yield out of the 2 other rolls in this 2 other lots, and this one was kind of left over. If you go to my page, or the document entitled document, this is the plan that was submitted to the city and approved. You can see on page 10, 9 and 10, the parcel here.
Sorry, I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
Did everybody find that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the plan that was approved has there's I guess 2 buildings there for a total of 12 townhouse units. They're 3 duplexes, all duplexes for the 3 there. So that was what was approved, was the 12 units. Typically an investor, I mean, when you're looking at price per square foot, that really is not at all how an investor would be considering what this is worth. They'd be looking at what the yield they can get out of it and how many units they can get on it. And all they were approved for was 12 units. and the rest of it, you can see, you're getting 5-story condos, 64 units and 76, where this remnant, because of setbacks and the configuration, is a much lower yield than the rest of it. Once I got the evidence from the assessor yesterday, I submitted a rebuttal to it. Does anyone, or do you guys see my rebuttal, or is that?
No, we didn't, and we'll go through your presentation first, and then
Okay.
and then any questions on your presentation, and then your rebuttals.
So the land sales that we brought were other land sales that had similar, remnant parcels. You're not going to see a lot, typically a lot happening. So that's why you will see all the aged sales. But you can see that the price per acre is, the highest one we've got there, 45 Cattleboro, is 330 per acre. That's typically what's going to be what the market would be looking at, is other sales like this, instead of these land sales that we're looking at that the assessor brought, that would bring high yield with 60 plus units on all of them. This information was done from from a different appraisal that we've done, just the data taken from it. The 45 Cadbro is a good example. It's not exactly, they got a lot higher yield, but it was a remnant from other larger product purchase. I think the land sales aren't fantastic for valuing this. I think I'll get into it in my rebuttal, but I'll show you. We did change the way we were looking at it once we saw the evidence. But our request in this brief was 470,000, based on the 24 at the usable square footage, and the usable square footage is considerably lower than the actual square footage. And you can look at it in certain ways, but the yield that the property can get is more of a concern than the actual size of it. And because they're only at 12 units, that's a significant burden on the value of it. But as far as my evidence goes, that's pretty much sums it up.
Thank you very much. Do the assessors have any questions for Mr. Neufeld regarding his evidence?
On which page is the list of sales you're using to come up with your price per acre?
It goes from page 4 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So these sales, just looking at the zoning, they're predominantly agricultural, is that correct?
Yeah, they were all I believe every single one of them is now an apartment or some sort of development, but they were agricultural at the time. A lot of these are Waverly West. It was all zoned agricultural before the Bridgewater went in.
Okay, so they would have been rezoned following the sale, not before?
No, application would have been made before, and there would have been an understanding with council that they knew that this was going to happen, because you're not going to be spending money on land without knowing what you can do with it.
So for like other pieces of land, say the lot was a square, would you not consider the area encompassed by the setbacks and valuing like a more typical piece of land, like the adjacent lots? Would you make a deduction there as well?
I mean, fundamentally, we'd be looking at how many units it can get in there. So it depends on whether or not the parcel is large enough to accommodate those setbacks. In that one, you've got such a much better size on it that you know you can get the 76 units, as we saw. This one here, because it's irregular, because it's smaller, you'd have to put a lot more weight on the fact that those setbacks are there. So on this, I guess no, we'd be less concerned about setbacks with the larger ones. for value, but with this one, because it's so limited, then we would put more weight on that and concern to it.
Okay, thank you. Those are our questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Knight, do you have any questions for Mr. Neufeld?
Just, you keep measuring at no, it's okay. I've got it now. Thank you.
Yeah, the setbacks should be shown on page. Here's someone.
Sorry. I figured out what I was trying to say.
Okay.
The city is saying that the property is 41,890 square feet. You're
Yes.
saying you divide that by 2 minus 1,600 square feet, so the buildable part is 19,345.
Correct.
That's what you're multiplying at your $24.28 a square
Yeah.
foot.
So if
correct?
you're looking at other market sales, I mean, the 24 is what this was originally assessed at.
Mhm.
When you're comparing it to other market sales that have good yield, we use the actual buildable area because of the limited yield on this property, and that's shown on page 4 at the beginning. There, you've got 25 minimum rear yard, 20 front yard, and then the building separation of 8, which would be the 4 side yards.
So these comparable sales in page 4 and 5, those are saying that's the total lot size or just the buildable part?
These are total lot size, because these ones, I mean, they are remnant parcels, but you can see that a lot of them are a lot larger, so they do have a better yield than the subject property.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mann, do you have any questions for Mr. Neufeld?
I do. I'm concerned about, I'm confused a little bit about the timing. You referred to this as a remnant parcel. When the 2 apartment blocks were, I'll go back. I'm looking at the plan at 00 and A01. Your material. It appears as though the plan contemplated and was approved for the 2 apartment buildings and the 12 townhouses at the same time. Was that one lot that was subsequently subdivided, or was that remnant lot an afterthought for the first plan?
No, you can see the plan at all times included that. I mean, the planners would have drawn this up knowing full well that to maximize the yield, you're going to end up with a lot of extra land that isn't really usable in the same way. So they planned it as such, because they knew that this would have been the less desirable portion. So if you can see on the page 9 of the document, the second document, it was all planned together.
Okay, so when did this parcel become a remnant? Was it subdivided subsequent to the construction?
Yes, it was subdivided when this was approved in 2017, and it sat vacant since, because it's not really feasible for them to build.
Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
And my question was just answered also. Thank you very much. Okay, so Mr. Neufeld, you said you have rebuttal evidence you'd like to present?
Yes, I do. So it was mostly just a review of the comparables that the assessor brought forward. Does everyone have it there?
Does everybody have it?
Do we have that, Nicole?
Yes.
I'm going to have to refresh. I don't have it.
I don't have it either.
Yeah, just refresh it. I put it in about 5 minutes ago.
It's called applicant rebuttal. It's 4 pages.
I got it now. Yeah.
Okay, I got it too. Thank you.
We got it. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Neufeld, please proceed.
Thank you. So you'll notice I did at the very beginning there, I do have a new request. We're not actually going to make that request. I'm going to stick to 470, mostly just because it's, there is some more value in the fact that these townhouses will stay with more land than these apartments that went in. But the exercise here is to show that the properties that they're being valued, or using them to value this, are mostly high yield apartments that they all essentially were rebuilt as apartments, except for 87 La France, which was subdivided and is now 10 titles plus a back lane, which isn't really comparable because this property has no reason to think that that would be approved there. I mean, when they built La France, they would have had that plan to sell out 10 condos. That this property is not going. It's you can't assume that that will happen here when it's not really. I mean, if that was something that they would have applied for if they were interested in it, but going through it, I mean, 186 Appleford. All I really did was take the sale price and the current units to show what the land value is per unit. And fundamentally, that is what an investor cares about. They are going to spend money on land based on how many units they can get into it. So when you have a property that you can only get 12 units on, assessed at 84,000, mind you, that was reduced. That's going to be far less attractive than these other ones that are being used to value this property as they are in the assessor's comparables. So, I mean, going through it, 186 Appleford is 280 units for 20,399. Sage Creek, 106 units for 19,000 and change. 1085 Court, which is the highest one here, 2 4-story buildings, 14 for a total of 120 units. And then Ward again, 14,000. So, you know, that these properties that are being used to value it are being purchased based on that land price per unit, and this subject property is not even close to that. With the assessment is not even close to that. Old Commonwealth Path, as I mentioned in my questions, they have it at I think 101.34 in some odd acres. I pull it up, but 1.3454. That's actually only one of the rolls that sold. I found a sale for 3.3 million. As you can see in that first picture, I got a little red line there. There's 4 rolls there. And subsequent to that is each individual roll, one for 1.34. This is the value that they've submitted in the first one, but it also is missing, the second one, but it's also missing 75,000 square feet, 23,000 and 36,000 for a total of 194,229 square feet. So this sold for 16.99 per square foot. It wasn't identified, so I wasn't able to find out how many units it was on, but I would assume that it would be similar to the rest of them. Sorry?
Oh, I sneezed. I just said excuse me.
Sorry. No. And again, to La France, I would highly disagree that this is the best comp. I see why they picked it. It's similar in size, but we have no approval to subdivide that into 10 titles, and there's no reason to think that we would. And until it does happen, you have to value what's there, and what's there is 12 townhomes that were approved as one title and are not able to be sold separately. So I wouldn't put much weight on 87 La France for that reason. I mean, you would pay more knowing that you could sell 10 properties, turn one piece of land into 10 sales. But yeah, so I mean, when I did this yesterday, I decided to make a new request at the highest price per unit. Like I said, we're not actually requesting that. That was more just an exercise. The request was still 470,000, and I mean, there is an argument that it should be higher than these parcels, since higher than the comparables that the assessors brought per unit, in that townhomes would likely get a higher rent than your typical apartment. But fundamentally, what an investor cares about is how many units they can get in there. And looking at land value per unit would be much more indicative of what the market could do. And of course, too, the owner is what the 470,000 is much closer to his expectations of what this actually would sell for. You have enough land there that people will pay a little more than they would for the price per units that we're seeing on the apartments, but it is not more desirable. These properties that the assessor brought are much more desirable than the subject. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do the assessors have any questions for Mr. Neufeld on his rebuttal evidence?
No questions, just some summation at the end, please.
Sure. Ms. Knight, do you have any questions for Mr. Neufeld?
I do not. No.
Mr. Mann?
No, I don't, thank you.
Okay, nor do I. Okay, did the assessors have any rebuttal evidence they wanted to submit?
We do not.
Okay, then the assessors, if you have a summary, please go ahead.
Yeah. So we've made a recommendation to drop it to $20 a square foot. And as per the information presented today, the physical dimensions of the property, current permits out to build townhouses on it, we strongly believe that our comparable number 787 La France is by far the most comparable piece of market data. The panel will be able to make a determination based upon. When the property was purchased, it was not subdivided. It was RM, FM zoned property, similar size with the intention to build townhouses on it, just like the subject property. So it's actually a really good comparable. Keep in mind, it wasn't subdivided before. So that deal wasn't done yet. So they purchased it with the expectation to subdivide it, but it wasn't done ahead of time prior to the sale, as per our records. That's why it wasn't sold as 10 separate titles. They're building townhouses on the subject property, or they have permits to do so, rather. I don't think they've actually started yet. So we strongly feel that our recommendation dropping it to $20 a square foot most strongly hinges on that piece of information that we presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Neufeld, do you have a summary?
Yes, please. I'd like to point out my comparables in my original brief, as the assessor pointed out, were all agricultural. None of them are agricultural now. That's Bridgewater, by and large. An investor is not going to purchase a property without knowing what he can do with it when he gets it. When this La France was purchased, they would have known that they were going to be able to sell that as 10 condos. If our subject property could do that, they'd love it. It would be much easier to sell. They would be much more attractive, but they didn't. They got approved for 12 townhomes in one title. La France is not comparable. An investor would way rather buy something that they can sell for 10 times than this one with the strange configuration and low yield. We have to deal with what we've got, and what we've got is 12 townhouses. That's something that the owner hasn't seen is overly feasible, and that's why it's been land since 2017. We're in a market right now where people are, lining out the door to get rental properties. If it was something that they thought was going to be a huge cash cow, they would have built it by now. But the fact is that they're not getting a good enough yield for it to be something that they are jumping at. 470,000 is much more indicative of what they could actually sell it for now, today, or 2021, even today. There's much better land to be building on in the city. As we can see, there's people building apartments left, right, and center. This property is not as desirable as the comparables that were brought forward, and $500,000 is really what it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Move on to the next matter. Does anybody need a short recess before we go on to the next property? No? Okay. Okay. All right, the next matter on the docket is 266 Graham Avenue. Sorry, I have a cold and I'm losing my voice. Sorry, it's 266 Graham Avenue, Unit 230. So I noticed on this matter, there are 3 points of revision. Sorry, it is, sorry, Mr. Neufeld, liability taxation, amount of assessed value, and classification of property. You appealing all 3 of those?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to confirm. All right. Then, Mr. Assessor, the assessors are muted.
Yes,
Okay, sorry, so please go ahead with your presentation.
thank you, Madam Chair. File number 23445, roll number 12097648800, number 23 Graham Avenue, roll year 2022, April 1st, 2018, assess value 310,000, classification 60, liability taxable. The building is built 1995. It has effective year of build 1970. The gross floor area 1976. Page 3, you can see market income stream. This is office classification as office class B. Premise ID 14166. Tenant class 2 standard finish. Leasable area 1976. Rent for square footage $13. Potential rent come out 25,688. Income valuation summary you can see. Based on potential rent, we use vacancy 9%, expenses ratio 2%, and shortfall 11 per square footage. And then net operating income comes at 20,952, and we have used 6.75 capitalization rate, and then the round up value comes at 310,000. And page 4, you can see income valuation summary, property class office, classification code 60T, potential rent 25,688, vacancy 9%. So effective gross income come at 23,766. Sorry, 23,376. Expense ratio $2%. Shortfall $11 per square footage, and net operating income comes at 20,952. We have used 6.75 capitalization rate, and roundup value came at 310,000. So in my brief, page 5, you can see lease comparable. The first comparable numbers 78330 St. Mary's Avenue, lease area 1,603. Lease started at May 1st, 2017, term 8 year. Net rent for square footage $13. The second comparable number 822 240 Graham Avenue. Lease started at 2016 June, 5-year term, and lease area 1,956. Net rent for square footage $16. Next comparable, number 960, 363 Broadway, 5-year lease, lease area 1,666. Net rent for square footage $14. Next comparable, number 212 175 Hargrave Street. They started at April 1st, 2017. 1 year and 5 month lease. Lease area 1,747. Net rent for square footage 14,000. The next comparable, number 3, 2015 Gallery Street. 15-year lease, 15-year and 4 month lease. Lease area 1,736. Net rent for square footage $19.50. So page 6 you can see capitalization rates, and page 7 you can see Municipal Assessment Act result, and page 8 you can see company register research. You can see the ownership of the company, and it's in page 9 too. In page 10, you can see the background information about Winnipeg Police Credit Union. And page 10, you can see the permit for the subject property. In page 12, you can see the tenant area, tenant flow area, 1,176. And page 13, you can see interior pictures, 13 to 14. This is the end of my presentation.
I'll just jump in to add just a little bit more. This unit is located, the role is located within 266 Graham is the Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union is a private organization. So despite its name, it's not exempt by statute or anything like that. Hence its taxable status. That's evidenced in the company search we did on page 8. And we feel that the rent is supported by our comparables. So that's our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Neufeld, do you have any questions for the assessors regarding their presentation?
Yes, thank you. Who's being assessed, the credit union, or is this a city assessment on the city?
The credit union is the occupier of that space. So
right, so the notice is written to the credit union, right?
yes.
Okay. When you amended this assessment roll, did you amend the police building?
Well, no, those are separate roles. Like this area is not captured by the police building role. They're separate. This is in the skywalk. Just like maybe some clarification. This is in the skywalk, right? So there's actually there's a few roles within this building, 266 Graham. So like, for instance, there's like a subway down the skywalk, as you can see from the front page of your picture. It goes through this building. That also has its own role. It's to account for the person who is leasing the place from a taxation standpoint, as per the Municipal Assessment Act, is liable for the taxes. So it's not like multiple class codes within one big role that would cause the other role to be amended. We actually have separate roles within this building to account for those skywalk units.
Yeah. Okay. But you amended the role. Is it, you consider this an error and omission, or how did you amend this role, and how did you create this? Because this would generally be something that would be done in reassessment, and I would contend that this 55,806, considering it is the title, would have already captured this, and it was just accidentally exempted.
No, this is a totally separate role. This was not captured in the police building role, which I think you're referring to. This existed on its own beforehand as exempted cost valued space. Now the permit has been fit up. It's got a new occupier. So as such, the police credit union is a private entity. We issued a sub. We've seen the lease. You guys went down and did the inspection. So we're not we're not double counting this. This unit is separate from the police building, the larger, much more valuable PID, which I think you're referring to.
Yeah, no, and I'm not arguing that they are taxable. It's just that you amended a roll without any legal reason to. I mean, this
No.
isn't an error of omission. You knew it was there. It's your building. The city owns it.
No, that's not true, because before the police credit union wasn't in there. It was just space for the city on this, again, separate role within the skywalk that was exempt. Now that the police credit union's in there, that's a change. So you could call it error, omission, change of, status. So it definitely needed to issue an adjustment for this.
Okay. Your leasable area, you said you had the lease, but I'm showing 1976 as a gross area where a usable is 1607. Have you seen that?
I mean, the floor area we have on file here is 1976. So that's
right. But they pay. I mean, you've seen the lease, right?
I believe I looked at it mostly pertaining. I was hunting for how the taxes were defined in the lease between the city and the occupier. Like it did say that they're liable for any and all taxes, levy, yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember what square footage exactly. Okay. I skipped over that part.
Okay, well, I just correct me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but you did the rent is $13, and that's what's applied. So I was assuming that was part of the decision. However, the usable square foot is only 1607, so they're paying $13 on 1607, not on 1976. Would you disagree with that?
I would. Is the lease in your brief?
It's in my rebuttal, so I will get to it. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look.
Yeah, for sure. And then so 6.75% cap. That's your lowest cap in the office department, is it not?
Let me check here. Let's see. Office, OFB, high, low. I mean, there's a percent on here. Let's see if or yes, downtown B, I believe so. As per
can this be sold?
Could this be sold?
Yeah.
Oh, the individual unit?
Yeah, sorry. Could this roll be sold as it's being assessed? Does it have a title? Is it
I mean, no more than any other tenanted individual unit in any other office building.
But but when you're in another office building, you cap the whole thing, right? So we have here a partial interest, and it's the most aggressive cap rate in downtown.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. I mean, it's something that's been assigned by the model. So if you got any cap stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really bring any because we weren't. I mean, we're arguing that it's not a legal assessment. Sorry, it's not a legal supplemental. So I don't have cap data, but I mean, this is the lowest cap rate. We've all seen these cap rates, and it is a fractional interest. So I would think that the model should be going a lot higher, or the high end, right? For a property.
I mean, not for nothing. If you look at that chart, Collier's has 6.25 for their low. So I mean, you guys yourself are saying it goes lower. So
yeah, none of those. I can tell you with certainty. There's no cap rates; those don't exist. But if there were, they wouldn't be fractional interest. That wouldn't even go into our study.
What we're doing is we're capturing, the taxable nature of this unit in the Skywalk, 11.2 of the Municipal Assessment Act. And it's not being double counted. Like it's separate, just like the subway there and the Skywalk has its own role for I think it's like 16 something square feet.
Yeah.
I checked this morning. So like, again, we're not double counting anything.
What made you assess it now? Why not before?
Well, before it was a city occupied exempt space, so it still existed on this roll.
Right.
But you have to make a change to the classification. There's a tenant in there, private tenant. We've got lease market information. So there's been a change in more than one column. So hence the sub.
And you would agree that you're calling this an error and omission from why it was missed in the past, or is that
it wasn't missed in the past?
I think this question's been asked and answered.
Okay. I mean, no, I mean it's a new question. And what section in 13.1 does this fall under?
Okay, I think it falls under a couple. Well, the property was fit up, right? So 13.1B4, change in physical characteristics of the property. So yeah, it's they did work in there. There's also a change in the interest, like it used to be exempt, right? Because it was occupied by the city as per 11.2 of the Municipal Assessment Act, where real property that is assessable property is exempt from taxation and an occupier has a right, interest, or estate in the real property. An assessor shall assess the right, interest, or estate in the name of the occupier. So they have to pay tax in there.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you very much. Ms. Knight, do you have any questions for the assessors?
I do not, no.
Mr. Mann?
No, thank you. I don't have any questions.
Okay, nor do I. All right, Mr. Neufeld?
So we're not arguing that it can't be taxed. That's correct. It can be taxed. However, though, the supplemental, I don't think that this falls under 13.1. This is a property that the city owns. They were aware of it. As far as I can tell, and I mean, Mr. Barocas is saying that it was its own role, but as far as I can tell, it was part of 266 Graham, my page 3 of that 55,806 assessment. That would be inclusive of this. So in order to make a supplemental, there needs to be an error and omission, but it was already in that exempt part. So they would have had to reduce that 55,806. I would think that they have to catch this in 2025 and it can be subbed. That's the gist of that. I do have rebuttal quickly once it is turn for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do the assessors have any questions for Mr. Neufeld regarding his presentation?
Yeah, just on page 2 for 13.1, would you not agree that when you go down to what is this, C, near the bottom of the page, the value of the property is not the same as the value entered in the assessment roll, or there is a change in classification of the property? Would this roll not fall under the change in classification aspect of the act?
I mean, if you're changing the act, sure, but it came from an exempt property, and that exempt portion didn't change. I would just think that that's already there. So if you're changing, you created $290,000 in assessment. It didn't come out of thin air, but it was assessed out of thin air. So I'm not arguing it's taxable, but it's just that it should be in the general assessment.
Oh, okay, I mean that would be my question. I think we've clarified how it's a different role, but I'm just not the venue to.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I from what I can tell, the 55 is the entire title. So,
and I think that's where the difference is. Is that maybe you guys probably weren't aware that there's different roles assigned to this property to capture. So I can see where you're coming from. We're not double counting.
Okay.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Knight, do you have any questions for Mr. Neufeld?
I'm just checking these roll numbers. Okay, they are different. Okay. So before it was, when did the Police Fire Credit Union or whatever it's called open up there?
2017.
And before that, that was that property was used by the city or done with whatever under the same roll number that we're still talking about on this property, correct?
You'd have to ask the assessor that, to be honest. I wasn't aware of what it was prior to this. They've been in there since 17, and that's all I really.
So since 17, and now that because they're a corporation unit, they should be paying taxes on that.
I mean they're a police credit union. They're not the police department. They're a separate credit union that's essentially. I think anyone can actually apply, but it's for the police.
It's just a new unit that they moved into that building from where they were before, correct?
Yeah, well, they created it. Yeah, they've still got their place on. Was it William?
William, yeah.
Too. Yeah.
And on William, are they paying taxes on that building there?
They are. Yeah, they are taxable. That I wouldn't.
So why do you think this wouldn't be taxable then?
It's just not. It's not a legal amendment of the assessment. I don't see how this is an error or omission or a change. I mean, it's been like this since 2017. That's how it should. They should be capturing it in the general assessment.
Okay, but prior to the police credit union being in there, it was a City of Winnipeg building being used by the City of Winnipeg, correct?
As far as I know, yeah.
So the City of Winnipeg may not have paid taxes on that building, but once another corporation comes in, they would be paying taxes, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mann, do you have any questions for Mr. Neufeld?
I'm just looking for a little bit of clarification on your position. You've said on a number of occasions that the police credit union, as situated, is an entity capable of being taxed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a for-profit entity, right?
Correct.
Okay. So your objection to the supplemental is that it should have been done earlier? Is that...
Well, there are rules on how you can amend assessment roll. On my page 2, 13.1, this is amending assessment roll, and my contention would be that it doesn't fit any of these categories. They can assess it, but they can't create the assessment unless there was an error and omission. And the error and omission, it doesn't really fall because it's a property that they've owned and were aware of. It's just was somehow missed for whatever reason.
Well, error and omission is only one subsection of B under 13.
Yeah, no, and that's generally the one we look at. But I mean, the change in classification, I don't see it like. Is it a change in classification? I mean, you sure somebody moved in there, but it's the classification has been that way. So I don't know. I think fundamentally too, we are looking at a different value. I didn't have anything to present, but I do have the lease and the area. So there's still some issues with the actual value of itself.
Okay, well that's fine. I just want to stay on, see if I can clarify in my mind your position. Because I am having some difficulty. Leaving aside the police credit union, I have some familiarity with the physical layout of the walkway, the subway that's come up. Would your position be exactly the same way with respect to a fast food chain moving in, like the subway?
Yeah, I mean it can be assessed, of course, but it has to be follow under 13.1, and that I think I'm not sure if subway was already there or if they've added it with this as well. But again, you can't just create a role because you missed something. It's got to be it's got to follow the procedure.
But if you've just missed something, it's an error or omission. Is it not?
I mean, in a city-owned property, how could they not have that information? It's not like they found
I think
out
I've got
the
your
information.
I think I've got it. Thank you. That was all I needed.
Thank you.
Thank you. My question has been clarified. Mr. Neufeld, do you have any rebuttal evidence?
I do. It's just the portion of the lease. So it's one page here in under K, leased premises. It is 1,976 square feet gross, but the usable square feet is 1,607. So usable is how they pay. So they're paying $13 on 1,607. So while we don't agree that it should be supplemental, it still has a accessible, or will, in 2025, it should have an accessible value, and that value would be based on 1,607 square feet, which is what they're paying on. And then, of course, too, I would argue, just looking at the cap rate that's being used, that's a very aggressive cap rate. I think the same is being put on all of Portage and Main. A fractional interest, I mean, it's a hypothetical cap rate, but it would definitely not be under the lowest percentile. It would be the highest percentile at about 7.5. So that would be, I mean, based on the value, I would say that the value should be under for 1,607 square feet as the usable area, and a higher cap at about 7.5.
Okay, thank you very much. Do the assessors have any questions for Mr. Neufeld regarding his rebuttal evidence?
Just how does he get the 1,607 square?
No, do the assessors.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
So, it says they're leasing 1976 in the lease, is that?
Yeah, that's the gross area. We were trying to figure it out, and we're wondering if that's partially the skywalk itself. Like that because generally that they would be paying cam costs on that. So you have the two areas. When you see this, it's the smaller area is what they're renting, but they would have cam costs on the entire larger area.
All right, those are our questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Knight, go ahead, please.
Just how do you get the 1607 as opposed to the 1976?
It's right in the lease there. You see under Article 1, interpretation, leased premises, the 1607 is written up in the lease.
Yeah.
That's what they're paying the third.
Plus or minus usable square footage.
Yeah, that's the usable. So usable is what they can actually rent, what they're paying for. And 1976 would be the gross area and on what they pay cam costs on. And I don't know for sure, but my assumption is that 300 and sort of the 369
square feet. Yeah.
is the skywalk.
It's a skywalk. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mann?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the lease that you filed as part of your rebuttal. The Article 1 interpretation, leased premises means that portion of the land identified as the leased area on the sketch is equal to the leasable area of 1,976 square feet, plus or minus square feet, and then bracket 1,607 usable square feet. And then 2.03, $13 per square foot of leasable area, not usable area. That lease seems fairly clear to me about leasable area versus usable area. Is there another clause that I'm missing with respect to the interpretation?
No, that's a good point there. I didn't notice that they specified that. I mean, generally when we see this, that's like I said, that's the larger area is the cam cost and the smaller area is rented. So, but you're right, the language does say leasable, so we'll have to review that.
Okay. Thank you. That was all I need clarification of.
Thank you very much. I have no questions. Do the assessors have any rebuttal evidence?
Oh, we do not.
All right, is there a need for summary from either party?
We're okay, thank you.
Mr. Neufeld?
No, thank you.
All right, we can move on to the next matter then, which is the same property, 266 Graham Avenue, Unit 230, but the 2023 assessment. The assessors can go ahead, please, when they're ready. Oh, and again, this has the same, you are appealing liability taxation, amount of assessed value and classification of property. Is that correct, Mr. Rico?
Yeah, no, everything being the same.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. File number 23446, roll number 12097648800, address 230 266 Graham Avenue, roll year 2023, reference date April 1st, 2021, classification 60, taxable, assessed value 290,000. I'll move to the page 3. This is the same property, so I'm not going to go by each item. So premise ID 14166, tenant class C2, standard finish, lease area 1,976, rent for square footage 13,000, potential rent 25,688, vacancy 11%. In here we have $12 per square footage shortfall. Overall capitalization rate 6.75. The estimated market value comes at 290,000, rounded up. And page 4, you can see the income valuation summary. It's the same, so just shortfall is changed, and you can see the comparable in page 5. So you can see the those comparables support our valuation. So you can see the cap rates on page 6, and that's all our evidence. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Neufeld, do you have any questions for the assessors on their evidence?
Just quickly, the cap rates on your page 6, are any of them fractional interests, or are they all full titles in the entire buildings? Like the data that goes into it.
Sorry, could you, sorry, we're flipping around. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, so the buildings that go into the study, are any of them fractional interests like the subject?
Not as far as I know, but I'm not involved in the modeling process, but I wouldn't think so.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Knight? Any
No, ma'am. No.
Thank you. Mr. Mann?
So I think the questions I had with respect to the last matter on the list can apply to this one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we can move on then. Mr. Neufeld, please proceed with your presentation.
Yeah, I'll just ask.
Excuse me, I just have to take a call. I'm terribly sorry. I'm terribly sorry to do this, but I just have to sign out just for a second. Sorry.
Okay.
Madam Chair, did you want us to take a brief recess?
I believe Ms. Knight's back.
I'm good now. Sorry, it was just the door of my apartment was.
Okay. No, that's
somebody's
okay.
coming up. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, Mr. Neufeld?
Just ask that the argument carry forward from the last one. It's the same reference date. So, and I would just add that just repeat that the 675 is a low cap for a property that you can't even sell. That doesn't. When you're making a hypothetical cap, you do have to take into account the fact that it's not even a title property and it's not something that could sell. All the data that we would bring in and all the data that goes into the city's model would be from buildings that are capable of actually being sold. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Do the assessors have any questions for Mr. Neufeld?
No, thank you.
Ms. Knight?
No, no, ma'am.
Mr. Mann?
No, I don't, thank you.
Nor do I. Okay, so, are you presenting any rebuttal evidence, Mr. Neufeld?
Just I guess the same lease would be. I'd ask that it be entered, but I don't need to go over it again.
Okay, thank you. Do the assessors have any questions regarding that?
They've already been asked and answered, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Knight?
No,
Mr. Mann?
I don't have anything additional with respect to that, thank you.
Okay, nor do I. All right. Would the assessors like to make a summary?
Yeah, just very briefly, just to be clear that we didn't create value. This had a value before. This role as exempt property, so it's not subtractive of the larger role associated with this address. And there has been a change in classification as per 13.1 C amongst the fit up of the permit of the space. So we definitely have the right to reassess the space. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Neufeld, do you have a need for summary?
Yeah, just quickly, our legal advice was that this doesn't fall under 13.1. As you can tell, I am not a very good fake lawyer. I didn't argue that very well, and I will contend that, but that's fine. But realistically too, I mean, I think what I was more focused on was the leasable area, and then also that cap rate being one of those most aggressive cap rates that the city puts on office properties, and when you can't sell the building, that I don't think that really is appropriate or unappropriate cap rate, and it should be. I would say 7.5. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. We have heard all the items scheduled, and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Morning.